It's Alejandro Duarte with MariaDB to talk about JDBC, Java Database Connectivity, which is a technology that allows Java applications to interact with databases. It is a key technology because it's the foundation of any other persistence framework in Java, like, JDBC, Hibernate, MyBatis, jOOQ, you name it. So understanding the key concepts in JDBC, it's very important, in my opinion, to be able to take advantage of these other frameworks and to understand how they work. So in this series of videos, we're going to cover everything from establishing a connection with a database to even using a connection pool to kind of improve the performance of an application. So let's jump right into the code. And so I'm going to use IntelliJ IDEA to create a new project with Maven, no archetype, empty project. Let's call this JDBC demo. And this is going to be a very, very simple project. There are no files really except the pom.xml file, which is the project object model in Maven. It defines the project and all dependencies and configurations. And you can use, if you didn't have IntelliJ IDEA or you don't want to use it, you can use Eclipse or NetBeans or VS Code. They all support these technologies. But the important bit is to understand the code and the configurations that we're gonna make in this project. So I hope you follow along. But before we code, we need a database. So I'm gonna use Brew to install MariaDB. And Brew is a package manager for Mac, but it's also available in Linux, and I think you can run it also on Windows with the Windows subsystem for Linux, I think it's called. If not, you can download a package for your operating system and install it like you would do with any other kind of software that you have in your computer. It shouldn't be a problem. And let's see if this is working. There we go. So it's ready. And you'll find, in the case of Brew, you'll find that there are two ways, or it shows two ways to start the database server. I'm going to use this one because I find it more convenient since I'm using Brew. But here's another way to start the server. And let me show you first who am I, which is going to show the user, the operating system user. So that's my name, Alejandro. And if you connect to the database using any SQL client, MariaDB comes with this one, MariaDB. You'll see that if I select current user, it's going to show again my name and localhost. This is the database user, not the operating system user. It's just that it kind of uses the same name by default. And you'll find that I'm connected from the same machine, so localhost. What else can we check here? Well, maybe we want to show variables, especially the port, in case you're wondering. This is where the server is running. It's listening to 3306, which is the default port. Let me also set a password for the current user. Encrypted. Let's just use password. And there you go. If you don't want to have the plain password there, you can use the string that is already encrypted. But okay, so this is a development machine, so this is fine. There's no sensitive data. If you have that, maybe you should secure your installation. But the other thing that I want to do is, so IntelliJ IDEA, this is the Ultimate Edition, and it has an integration with something called Data Grid, I think it is called. And it's pretty good. I found it very, very useful. So I'm going to create a connection here. Let's call this MariaDB. This is just an identifier here inside the IDE. And the user is Alejandro, password. Let me spell that well. And well, we can test the connection. Succeeded. And so we can just click OK. Now we have it here. This because, again, I want to have some auto-completion, all this kind of stuff. But I don't know what you are using, so I'm going to use the code to create the, for example, database schema. I could create it right here, but let's do it through code. If you are not using these, you can always use these client. It's just that this is not very convenient for software development because you cannot edit the code or anything. It's a pretty basic thing to do, kind of small tasks there, not to develop software really. I don't recommend it. But you can use another tool. For example, the Beaver is one. It's open source. However, if you're using Eclipse, there's probably a plugin for that. If you're using NetBeans or VS Code, I'm pretty sure they all have SQL integrations and you can connect to database. It's going to be similar. Anyway, let's create a new database. Let's call this JDBC demo. And let's use that, JDBC demo. There you go. We are using auto-completion here. That's what I like about this. And let's create. So this means that we are gonna all the queries that we are gonna run from now on are gonna be against this database. So let's create a table named programming languages or language. So we're gonna make a very simple application to store and retrieve programming languages, and it's going to have a name, var char, so a variable number of characters, max 50 characters. That's enough. Maybe this shouldn't be null, and maybe it should be unique as well. And let's say we want to store a rating for each programming language as an integer. Let me execute this. There we go. No database selected. Come on. I think I selected this. Maybe I didn't run that. Now it's working. Yeah, it was probably my fault. All right. Now we have the database. You can actually check here. Let me refresh that. One table, programming language, and it has 2 columns. There we go. So that's ready. Now we can configure the project, the Java project. JDBC is a set of interfaces, mostly. So it's an API that database vendors have to implement for their own databases, right? For their specific database. And so the way they do it is by supplying or creating drivers, JDBC drivers. So we need to add the JDBC driver for MariaDB as a dependency. So let me add the dependencies section here, and we will have to go somewhere and grab the snippet. You can come to Developer Hub, mariadb.com/developers. But let's face it, most of us would just go to MariaDB or to Google, MariaDB, JDBC, driver, Maven, hoping for the dependency to show up. There we go. We have it. That's what I would do with any dependency I need. I'll just Google it. And we need to reload the Maven project so that the IDE knows that it has to download this dependency to the local repository. And now we can use it here. So let's start coding. I'm going to create a package com.example and application class. And it's going to be very, very, very simple. Pull static void main, the entry point of every Java application. And we need 2 operations right now. So open database connection. We're going to create that one and close database connection as well. So let me create those methods here. And let's start with the open database connection. So the entry point of JDBC is the driver, but we don't use the driver directly. We use something called driver manager. And there you'll find a method called getConnection. There are actually several versions of this method. We're going to use this one. So we need to specify something called the URL, the user, and the password. So what's the URL? So the URL is where the database is. How can I access? How can I find it? And you probably will have to to Google that. But the general syntax for this is JDBC. They all start with JDBC colon and then kind of the database name, and then something that it's a specific configuration. And this changes from database to database. In the case of MariaDB, it's obviously MariaDB. And here, the best way to do it is just JDBC, well, maybe MariaDB, JDBC, connection string, that's fine. And you'll find somewhere, I bet I don't even have to get inside that. Here's an example. So it says after the colon / localhost, the port probably, and the database name. I'm pretty sure you'll find documentation there if you want to find more details or further configure the connection, but we need something very basic. So localhost 3306, which is here, right? That's the default port. And we used JDBC demo. Come on, JDBC demo, right. Next, we need to specify the user. This was the user, and this was the password. And this is red because this throws an exception, so we need to add this to the method. We could also catch that and show a message or something. We're not gonna deal with exceptions here. And now that we have kind of called that method, we can assign these to a variable. Actually, let me assign these to a field in the class. Here it is, right? So we can use it in other methods, especially the closed database connection in this video. Now, maybe we can show some messages here. System out print line connecting to the database. I think that should be fine. And maybe we can also explore some of the methods here. So, for example, there is something called isValid, and it accepts a timeout. So you can specify like 10 seconds or 5 seconds or 0 if you don't want to use the timeout. But I'm gonna system out print line connection valid plus that. This is gonna show true if everything is okay. So I think that's open database connection. Now let's also implement closed database connection, and you probably guess how it goes. This connection that close, it throws an exception, so we added here, and we also want to show something like closing database connection. And maybe to confirm, we can actually, I'm very lazy, so I'm just gonna duplicate that line and put it here, just to show if the connection is valid. It shouldn't be valid at this point. And if we run the application, we'll see, all right? We didn't make any mistakes, that's good. That it shows connecting to the database, connection valid, true. Closing database connection valid, false. Very good. Now, there's just one thing. This is fine, but there's one thing, because between these two calls, we're going to do a lot of things. In fact, we are actually already doing things. For example, we are calling system out print line. What if there's a problem here? For example, at this line, we throw a runtime exception. Simulated error. Now, of course, Java knows that this line won't ever be executed, so it shows an error and won't compile. So let's add if true. That's how we can trick Java here. And if this happens, the database is never closed, and this is a resource, an operating system resource. Probably there's some, I don't know, file descriptors. Something could be happening there. We need to free those resources. So we need to make sure that we always close the database connection. So one way to do that is to say, try this. Try to open database connection and catch an exception, right? And close. Or even better, we can say, finally, because we know this always gets called no matter what. If if there's an error or not, we're going to close the database connection. So let's simulate that error, and we should see that connecting to the database, closing database connection because there was a problem, an exception. So this is how you should establish the connection, how you should make sure that you always close the database connection. I think this concludes the first part of this series of videos. This is how you connect to databases. I hope you like it. Let me know what you would like to learn about JDBC in the comments. And I guess I'll see you in the next video.